I wasn't intending to speak at this part, but I feel very queasy about the way that a number of noble lords are using the situation in Ukraine to have a go at this part of the bill. People are indeed dying for democracy, but they're not dying to defend an electoral commission that it's an unelected quango in the UK. I do think that it's rather unbecoming to kind of use that, in my opinion. I think that the electoral commission is relatively new to UK's democratic life, and democracy thrived when it didn't exist. So at the very least, we should stop over-grandising the electoral commission as though the electorate are dependent on it. There are problems with it, and I think also there are problems with the way that the government is trying to deal with it. So I'm not necessarily defending the government's way of solving the problems of the electoral commission.
Go on, defend them.
Would the noble lady give way?
Yeah, very good. Well done, everyone. Good. Carry on, yes, sir.
The noble lady said we had a functioning electoral system before we had the electoral commission. The electoral commission was a move in improving it. Just as votes for women was a very great step forward. I'm sure she wouldn't want to go back to the time before that.
Well, she might do. Yeah.
I appreciate that I'm surrounded by Labour lords who object to what I'm saying, and one of the great advantages of votes for women was that occasionally we get to say the odd thing that doesn't go with the grain. I'm raising a problem, which is that the Electoral Commission is not necessarily all good. And I wanted to say this about it. There was a great deal of dissatisfaction about the lack of independence of the Electoral Commission in relation to the 2016 and its response to the 2016 referendum that I referred to in my second reading speech. Such was the concerns about the bias of the Electoral Commission in that period that the Electoral Commission itself had to apologise for the bias of many of its Commission members. So this is not me saying it, it's quoting the Electoral Commission, which we were all told we have to listen to. So they themselves admitted that there was a certain bias shown by the Electoral Commission, and that took the form of many voters feeling that the Electoral Commission was not fit for purpose and was in fact biased against their wishes as an electorate in that referendum. Many of those people were not Tory cronies, but were in fact Labour voters who may no longer be Labour voters because they became disillusioned with the fact that the Labour Party actually told the voters they'd got it wrong, that they were duped, and that they needed to think again. So whilst the Labour benches are very keen on democracy, they were less keen on the democratic decisions of many of their voters in 2016 and subsequently. At the very least, therefore, I think it is important that we look at the role of the Electoral Commission critically, seriously. I don't think that the particular way the government has gone about reforming it is going to clarify or help, and I'll make those points another time. But I think to say, as was just said by a number of people, we've got a responsibility here to take this bill and thwart it and scupper it and throw it out and all the rest of it, actually seems to me to be rather flying in the face of democracy, because for a little bit of humility maybe to remember that the plans around this whole elections bill were actually in the Conservative Party manifesto, which the noble lords would be delighted to know I did not vote for before they all start. But nonetheless, I did clock that they were there, and that actually we in this House are unelected legislators, and that we at least need to take a smidgen of note of what the electorate might consider to be important priorities. Not everything is a Conservative Party plot, but one of the reasons why many voters voted for the Conservative Party in 2019 was they felt abandoned by opposition voters who'd abandoned them.